Hello and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to be sharing about a lot of the movies that I've been catching up on from 2024. I am a very busy person, as I'm sure many of us are, so I don't always have time to check out all the new releases before the end of the year. So this is a collection of maybe a dozen or so of the movies that I've been catching up on over the past couple of months that I wanted to share my thoughts on just a little bit. So it's just going to be a big collection of little miniature reviews off the top of my head here. So let's get ready because there's a lot to talk about. And let's jump in. All right, kicking off this list, we have Late Night with the Devil. This movie was one that I really enjoyed. I believe it's streaming on Hulu is where I checked it out. And this one kind of tells a late night talk show type story where they brought in this person who's supposedly demonically possessed and had a on-air exorcism kind of thing. So it was a really interesting story, especially from a spiritual angle, just kind of looking at it from my personal faith perspective. I thought that was interesting to look at and analyze a little bit thematically. But as far as the technical levels of this movie go, it was really great. It was very immersive. The movie itself is filmed to aesthetically feel like you're watching the talk show. But when they go to commercial break, you break that immersion. You actually get to see what's going on behind the scenes from a traditional level. David Delsmakian, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly because he definitely deserves some recognition, does a fantastic job in his lead role. He's one of the most underrated actors working today. Story-wise, it was good. I would have liked a little bit more from it, but it left me enough to feel engaged with the story, the events, the characters, but much of it kind of left into interpretation by the conclusion. I'm not going to spoil anything here if you haven't seen it, but this is definitely an experience of a movie that I really enjoyed and definitely recommend for different people to check out. I gave Late Night with the Devil a 7 out of 10. Next, we have the movie Argylle, which is currently streaming on Apple TV+. I checked this one out because I'm a big fan of Bryce Dallas Howard, both in front of and behind the camera, so I really wanted to check it out for her. And then I just really thought this was a ridiculous, over-the-top, cheesy, fun movie, but I had a heck of a good time with it. So I really enjoyed it. I'm very biased towards Bryce Dallas Howard, definitely one of my celeb crushes as well, but I enjoyed her throughout this movie. I thought she had a really interesting character throughout. It was fun to see her work with the different dynamics and perspectives you get to see on her character. I don't want to spoil anything here, but the action is about as over the top as you can get, but it's very creative, very entertaining, and the movie certainly isn't for everyone. Like I said, based on the reviews of pretty mixed reception on this one, but it worked for me and I really enjoyed it. I also gave this one a 7 out of 10. Next, we have the movie Juror number 2. I won't share too much on this one because I don't want to spoil anything. And if you know even some stuff very early on in this movie, it kind of spoils it. So I went into this one totally blind. So I want to recommend this one as blindly as possible too. It stars Nicholas Hoult as well as a number of other actors in this one that did a really good job. It's directed by Clint Eastwood, one of his latest and last films I think we'll be getting from him. But I thought it was really solid. If this is going to be his last one, it's a great one to go out on. Really good performances, a really good mystery, a really fun and interesting twist on a courtroom drama type thriller of a film. So really good performances throughout, good drama, good storytelling, good music and soundtrack throughout, great direction, just an all around really great experience. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. Next, we have a movie called Twilight of the Warriors Walled In. This is a kung fu action movie, and I did not expect it to go as hard as it goes, but the action truly goes there. It was really fun, really entertaining stunt work and choreography and martial arts throughout. The first act is a little bit uneven in pacing, but that whole second act being primarily action really makes it worth that build-up experience. Not only is it action-packed, but it does have a good story as well. The nature of kind of taking place in the 80s was really fun, a little bit over-the-top type aesthetic with that as well. There's even a little bit that it kind of dips its toe into with the supernatural side of things, which I thought was really fun. But overall, this walled city that the movie takes place in is very immersive. It was heavily practical, which I did not expect. I thought they did a really good job with the practical sets and locations to make it a little bit more immersive and stuff. But it made it feel, very tangible and practical when it came to the fight sequences on those sets. The action is fantastic. It's gritty, brutal, kind of stylized at times and stuff. The choreography, like as I've already said, is absolutely entertaining. Very fast paced. It makes it a ton of fun to watch. This is definitely a movie I'm going to revisit and add to my collection at some point, and I definitely recommend checking it out. I gave the movie an 8 out of 10. Next, we have one of the most surprising movies of last year for me that I watched, almost hesitantly skeptical on this one because I heard such raving reviews on it, and that is the movie Hundreds of Beavers. This is one that I checked out on Prime Video. I really just genuinely fell in love with this movie. I really wasn't sure from the beginning, and even still, I'm still not 100% sold on the beginning, but after that opening sequence, like musical number, I was all in on this movie. The action and the fun, just drama, shenanigans and all the stuff that takes place is very Looney Tunes-esque in the over-the-top nature of it all. It's very stylized and cartoonish despite it being live action. It has some really cool video game progression aspects to it as well that make you feel really invested in the growth of the main character. That's really fun. It's an absolutely ridiculous movie, but there's so much love and passion put into it. It's one of the most unique films I've ever seen. So aside from the very, very beginning, but from other than that, beginning to end, I just fell more in love with the movie as I watched it. And it's one I just grabbed for my collection. Can't wait to recommend and show some friends as well. One of the coolest aspects of this one is it's essentially a silent film as well, and not the only basically silent film I'm going to be having on this list, but one aspect of the film that's definitely worth noting of how effectively it tells a story despite there being any spoken dialogue in the movie. So I gave this one a 9 out of 10. Next, we have the movie Transformers 1. I checked this one out on Paramount Plus, and this is one that, even though I had fairly high expectations going into this one based on what I'd been hearing, it exceeded those expectations. I've always enjoyed the Transformers movies enough, but liking some, more than others, but this one is easily and by far my favorite one so far. From the very beginning, the movie boasts incredible animation. It's very detailed, and they just kick off this, somewhat family-friendly story that just progressively gets more interesting and complex as it goes. And really by towards the end, it's a much more mature story than it initially set out to be, which I really respect and appreciated that they were willing to go there. The character designs are all great. The performances are really good all around. And I just thoroughly enjoyed this one. Like I said, it exceeded even already high expectations, and I can't wait to check this one out again. I gave Transformers 1 an 8 out of 10. Next, we have the movie Flow, which is another essentially silent film that we get to talk about in this video here. This is one that's currently streaming on Max, at least is where I watched it. This one did end up winning some Academy Awards, which was really cool, but I really enjoyed it. It's a fun, kind of endearing story. I love that they are able to tell a story without dialogue through these animal characters that so often through, other studios choose to have them talking and stuff, but they made the bold decision to have them not speak at all, and everything's just told through their actions, their facial expressions, but everything is still so genuine and authentic to what those animals look like and how their bodies behave and stuff. So I thought it was really good. It just tells this story that you can easily, root for and be a part of. It's very immersive and beautiful as far as the world goes. It almost feels like you're watching cutscene after cutscene in a video game with the animation style that it is. I wanted a little bit more from it as far as the story and the final resolution for it went, but I still really enjoyed it and I really respect it. I gave this movie a 7 out of 10. Next, we have the movie Long Legs, which is one that I went to pretty much blind, aside from knowing it was a serial killer horror blend and it starred Nicolas Cage. So as this one kind of unravels, I felt more and more invested in it. It was a very kind of icky feeling movie. It was very dark and dreary throughout, but it also was so interesting in all of the mystery that kind of surrounded it at the same time. Cage's performance is absolutely the highlight of this film. If you're going to watch the movie for any reason, watch it for his performance because it's really great. But also opposite him as the lead protagonist, we have Lee Harker, who was portrayed by Micah Monroe. I really thought she was great as well. Definitely one that I need to keep my eyes on as far as future work that she does, because I definitely want to see more projects from her. But they're both very interesting characters as they're more both of them are kind of main characters in different ways, one protagonist, one antagonist, but they're also very different from each other. Neither of them do you necessarily entirely like. There's reasons for not liking either of them, and I thought that was an interesting angle to take with the main character. The story wasn't something entirely fresh and new, but it was executed to that, traditional formula you would see for a serial killer type horror movie. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was very, very well made. It looked fantastic. The aesthetic of the movie and the visual style was very good. The changing aspect ratios throughout was one of my favorite elements of the movie as well. So in the end, it's definitely worth checking out, and it's one I gave a 7 out of 10. Next, we have the movie Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. This is one that came out with some kind of mixed reception, so I really wasn't sure where I was going to end up landing on it. This one is streaming on Max, but I grabbed the 4K Blu-ray for it because I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan, and I wanted that really beautiful steelbook they had for it. Check out my unboxing video on the channel for that one. But this movie ended up really impressing me. I really liked it. The animation throughout was really beautiful. beautiful. I liked the different styles of the foregrounds and the backgrounds and versus the characters and stuff like that. The story was really good. I was really invested in the different characters throughout. I don't want to spoil anything, but some of the ways these characters go in and out of the story or make it through or don't make it through was really interesting and really exciting. I really thought they definitely did some interesting stuff with those parts of the characters. It definitely adds in fun ways to the lore and the greater world of Middle-earth. The Rohirrim have always been one of my favorite aspects of The Lord of the Rings and the Middle-earth, so it was really cool just to get to see a film entirely focused on that culture within Middle-earth. So definitely one that I recommend, coming from someone who's a massive fan of the Lord of the Rings movies and the books as well. Definitely check this one out. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Next, we have the movie September 5. This is one that I heard some really good things about when it first came out, but it was kind of a limited release, so I never got around to seeing it. But then they put it on Paramount Plus, which has been getting some really great films lately, and I got to check it out and absolutely thought it was a really great movie. I knew nothing about the true story that it was based on and kind of telling the story of, so that made it more engaging and more interesting to me. Maybe that'll be a little less so for someone who is familiar with the story, but I went into this one pretty much totally blind, and so it was really cool to learn about the events through the film itself, and I really thought the performances were great throughout. John Magaru was the standout for me as the lead protagonist. I thought he was really great in Past Lives a couple of years ago, the Celine Song movie, and I thought he was really great here as well. Definitely an actor I need to pay more attention to. This is a very straightforward and simple premise and setup of a movie, but I think what it does with that really enhances it and how well it executes all of those different aspects of it. It's definitely one that I will be adding to my collection. Really enjoyed it as far as, you know, the subject matter of the movie, as much as you can enjoy a movie about those kinds of things. But this is one I really definitely recommend highly. I gave it an 8 out of 10. As we kind of move towards the end of this video, we got a few more here for you. And next we have Nosferatu. This is one that I've always had a really interesting relationship with Robert Eggers movies, because I always tend to respect his movies more than I like them because of the different messages and themes that they kind of focus on and how dark and dreary they are, kind of clashing with my faith and biblical perspective. But this one, I'm happy to say, is probably my favorite Robert Eggers movie now going forward, just barely ahead of The Lighthouse for me. I know there's a lot of varying opinions on this one, but I finally checked it out. There's a lot to praise about this movie. First and foremost, the cinematography and the visual aesthetic of this film is pretty much unparalleled in the sense that we really don't see movies looking like this anymore. So much of it was practical and tangible that added just to the immersion of the film. Like, just as far as the aesthetic of this movie goes, I could spend a whole series just living in this world through the cinematography alone. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, and that was only enhanced further by the costume design, the characters and the performances, a lot of the prosthetics that go into the monsters and the creatures throughout this movie as well. Really great work on that side of things. This is definitely a dark story. It's definitely disturbing at times, and it's something that's going to stick with you. It's still a movie I think about, and I've seen this several weeks ago now, and every once in a while, it'll still return to my mind, and I'll think about it from time to time. But there's a lot thematically about this one with evil, religion, and spirituality that I think make for some really interesting discussions on all of those tones. It's one that I'm considering doing a Christian perspective video on, so it's probably one to keep an eye out for if you want to see more of my in-depth thoughts on it. I'm going to be working on probably a video for that sometime soon, but overall it's one I really enjoyed. This is definitely one I would watch again, which is well, it's not a first for me with Robert Eggers movies. I haven't rewatched any of his movies before, but The Lighthouse is one I want to go back and revisit again. But now this movie did have some naughty bits in it, which I don't particularly like in movies, so be forewarned if that is something that is offensive to you. I didn't really appreciate it too much, but I was able to overlook it enough for what it contributes to the story and everything that goes in with that. So overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really great. I gave the movie an 8 out of 10. Next, we have the movie Heretic. This is one that I also checked out on Max. Max has been getting a number of really good movies from last year to be streaming on there. Hugh Grant, definitely the standout for this movie. There's not a whole ton of a lot to talk about. Whole ton of a lot. All right, we're going to go with that. To talk about with this movie, but his performance is really great. It's nothing highly original, but visually it's a cool movie. Has some interesting discussions on religion from the different denominations and different beliefs as far as people's perspectives on different denominations of religion or even just Christianity itself. I thought it it had definitely posed a lot of interesting discussions there. It had some fun, interesting, and exciting thriller elements to it. It's another visually really good looking movie at the same time. So definitely one that I enjoyed quite well, and I would definitely recommend. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Next, we have the movie Anora, which I can't say too much on because I did not even finish this movie. For me, the nudity and the naughty bits in it was far too offensive for me to be able to enjoy and appreciate the film, so I did not even give it a rating because I didn't make it past the 20-minute mark because it was just too graphic for me. So unfortunately, I didn't get into the meat of what people seem to really like about the story for this one, so I can't say I enjoyed it, rated it, or would even recommend it. Maybe it's one I would revisit in the future, but that's probably not going to happen. Finally on this list, we have Sing Sing, which is one that I just did a kind of review Christian perspective on. It's a movie I went into with high enough expectations thinking I would enjoy it, but came out absolutely adoring it. I thought this movie was fantastic on pretty much every level. The performances are incredible. The visual cinematography and the direction of the film was great. I loved the soundtrack, and the story was really what resonated and hit me hard in the gut. So this is one I cannot recommend highly enough. It's another one that is also streaming on Max right now. Definitely check it out. If you want more of my thoughts on it, check out my recently posted review on this movie because I absolutely loved it and there's a lot to talk about with it. So thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I know it was a long one, but I wanted to kind of get this big collection of a lot of the movies I've been catching up on from last year I did not get a chance to talk about. So thank you for sticking around to the end of this one. If you have done so, I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.